All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, we have a packed show and a very special guest. We're going to talk about all of the current events, including breaking news, in just a moment. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today we have a great show planned with a very special guest that we'll introduce in just a moment. Excuse me. It is a live show, so remember, you can always go over and find our full bibliography over on marfooglenews.com. On top of that, you will also find every single article, tweet, video, picture, document, article, archived, everything is going to be over on the website itself. Now, it's very easily organized by thumbnail, so you'll look for "We Are Dissolving the System. This is not going to end well" with Jacob Israel. Once you click on that, you will find that it brings you to a full list of every source that we have and every source that we put. Now, again, at the very bottom, there is going to be an overflow section. That is the stuff that we could not fit into a 2-hour time slot. There is a lot more going on. There's also breaking news happening right now, possibly a very big event between the two I countries in the Middle East. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. And then, of course, a ton more. Real quick, though, I do want to remind you guys, today's show is brought to you by Energy Solar Generators. If you haven't checked these out yet, it is one of the most flexible systems out there. But on top of that, it's modular. It's expandable up to 96 batteries. Again, we basically have uninterrupted power supply running our entire studio. Basically, if the show or if I lose power at all because of a storm or the end of the world, I can still run my show. Everything, including my router, my power bar, everything is on the system. But this is an extremely convenient system as far as it can be portable. If you have 1 or 2 batteries, you can carry it with you to a campsite, to a work site. You can pretty much take it anywhere. Right now, we have amazing up to $170 off deals on this, so make sure to use the code Marfoogle to get that. When you do that, you are not only helping the channel, getting an amazing product out of it, and getting a discount, you are also backing yourself up and checking something off the list. Now, these are no joke. These are not cheap because they are meant to last. These are an actual solution for a very real problem. Doesn't have to be the end of the world or a SHTF situation. It can be a rolling blackout. California had some as long as 9 days, and we have places all over the country, even in the Middle West, actually having rolling blackouts right now. So if you want to prepare yourself, make sure to get that. The ship date is closer than ever. marfooglenews.com/energy. Thank you guys for helping reinforce the growth of the channel. All right, now I'm going to bring in my first guest here, and I want you guys to all realize how much I appreciate Jacob. Jacob Israel is one of my good friends on and off camera. Like I've told you guys many times, he is the same person on and off camera. He is the same goofball that he is off camera and on, but also he is much more caring than most people even know. He is the one who calls and texts, and every time that I have some sort of health issue, or if I have said it's my birthday or anything, he is always the first one to actually reach out. He is that kind of person. Very few people actually care about others, and Jacob is one of those. But as far as his channel, he is quickly growing. He's almost at 200,000 subscribers. He has a wonderful community, and a lot of you are actually carry over and swap over. It's an amazing place over there. And again, he talks about everything from symbology or symbolism to, of course, what is going on in the world as well. So I am honored to have you on the show. Again, Jacob Israel, what is going on and how are you doing?
Adam, oh my goodness gracious, I'm so happy to be here. This is awesome.
So there's a few things that I wrote down that I wanted to make sure to hit. We're, of course, going to talk about AI. That is something you've been covering. Just looking at your channel, which, by the way, it appears that Elon Musk himself may have actually been trolling you or reacting to you. And by the way, after I looked at what you put, and then after looking at his Twitter account and the timing of it all, so Jacob's theory is, and it's maybe, and he's very humble about it, he's not saying necessarily he's absolutely doing it, but there was some weird signs that Elon may actually watch your show. And do you want to go over that real quick and just kind of...
It started as a goof. People started pointing it out. Jacob, you just did a show about this. Look, it's like right after your show, here he's talking about this. Then that, something I say in the channel, sus man, totally sus man. He said that. Then he said another thing. Then I did a whole show where it's like, hey, everybody's saying he's probably watching me, and maybe he's watching me as a joke, just kind of like, look, God brings humble people in front of kings and rulers all the time. I'm not saying that's the case. Everybody likes to kind of think that they can influence the world on a global scale. And it would be, I hope he is, but after I did that video, then he put out a tweet about Jacob Israel, because I had said on the show, kind of a goof, like, why don't you make it a little more clear? And then he put a tweet out about Jacob Israel wrestling the angel with the, little slogan, I can't stop hitting myself, which was pretty funny. Then he deleted it. So then it was, it was just a weird thing. And his last tweet, the 7-Eleven tweet that he put up, I think is pretty significant. He took a little Twitter hiatus from it. I just did a show, but I got to tell you, I don't know if you can pull this up, Adam. I shared this on Twitter. This is really strange. The video where I'm talking about where I'm, once again, I don't think the guy's really following me. I just, I like to speculate and think about these things while also using the stuff that he talks about as kind of a lesson, and then draw some kind of spiritual growth to it. I'm not like deluded thinking the guy's following me. I'm not like that, but I got to tell you, I think it's totally sus.
No. And then when he did the perhaps, the fact that
was
you
weird.
Made such a point to point that out, the whole perhaps thing. And then he says, bored perhaps. The fact that he deleted the Jacob Israel,
that's weird.
Deleting that tweet after putting it up because he knows that you watch his tweet. Here's the thing, though. A lot of these rich and super famous people, they actually look up their own name. You have to think if you're.
That's what I figured. Yeah, and
they find you.
I have some videos that have a lot of views, and it's a possibility. And look, the stuff that we do is entertaining too, and it's also, it comes from a good place. I mean, I've never said that I think the guy's a monster. I've always said I hope he's not, and I have pointed out a lot of stuff that I think is suspect. A lot of stuff that goes on with that country whose name. Sometimes they call it the dragon, a lot of weird coincidental stuff going on with, these guys. They're very connected. And he just didn't you just mention something about?
Yeah. Here's a question that I have for Elon. If you happen to be trailing behind Jacob here, I have a question. In the leaked video of your all hands with Twitter, you actually related Twitter and you said, I want, first thing you said, I believe in freedom of speech, but not necessarily freedom of reach.
Right.
Now, that got me. And then also said, there's a great app in Xi's country called WeChat. And it's a great app, and it's very entertaining, and everybody's on it in Xi's country. And, of course, he said that, if we could get to something like that. Now, WeChat, from what I understand, is also how they track every single human being in Xi's country among the other platform that they have that's, I think, almost required, that everything's tied. So the one question I have is, one, about the freedom of reach thing. He says, well, you can go out on the street, and the same thing here, if you're in the chat and you're being a jerk, you can go out on the street. It's not a freedom of speech thing if you're like just talking crap and making everybody around you uncomfortable. You're in my house. We all are the prospective owners of these areas, right? So you wouldn't come into my house and start screaming at me. I would say, go outside, go to the street. If you want to say that on the street outside the house, fine. But that's not in here. As far as that's what he said, but then he said the freedom of reach. They can say whatever they want, but that's not necessarily going to mean that they're going to reach the people they want.
Right.
Which means that they're going to limit reach.
I'm sure that that's going to go on. And look, China's very heavily invested in Elon Musk, as well as Trump, as well as many others. So, let's not, very heavily invested. We're not talking a little bit. These are very powerful people and very powerful countries behind very powerful people. But what I found really odd is so like on my channel, if people don't know who I am, I started out as a writer. I was in TV for a long time, was the head writer for World Wrestling. Then I went over and I was the head writer for the Daystar Television Network. It's like, the largest Christian network in the world. And I was very dissatisfied with secular TV, very dissatisfied with Christian TV. Everybody's doing the best they can, but it was almost like God placed me there so that I could learn. And then I went into retail. And I just said, yeah, I'm just going to start the YouTube channel. I did in 2008. And I knew one day that God would bring these speckled sheep. Jacob has these speckled sheep. One day I would reach more people. I just knew it. I stuck to it. And then, here we are. Despite many things and obstacles thrown our way, you're aware of how we're held back. And yet we continue to grow. And it's thanks to the Foogle fam. It's thanks to, they got a couple of names for people who watch my channel, the Israelites, the Jacobin, whatever you want to call them. I just call them all my friends. But thanks to all of them, we grow continually. But I think that as long as you have love in your heart and you're doing the right thing, you're going to be okay. But God does these weird things in my life where I don't know why I do certain things or why I'm inspired to share certain things. And this is what I wanted you to see if you could look this up. I put a tweet out where it's a picture of Where's Waldo. Where's Waldo's in the news. Just a couple of days ago, I did a show about demonic possession and how it's on the rise. I've been talking about this for years now. And over the last couple of months, I talked about how things are going to get really bad. Chaos is going to be released as one of the videos that I shared a while back. And that was before all the kind of the real bad stuff started happening just recently. And so I put this tweet up with where Elon's kind of like, where's Waldo? Where's Elon? And then here we are 5 days later. And then this terrible tragedy that we're hearing about, it's all over. Where's Waldo? It's just very strange that they're both wearing. So then the question was like, why did what inside of me said, hey, let's put Elon in a Where's Waldo thing? Was it the tweet that I saw that kind of inspired it? And then why all of a sudden is it now mainstream news that this is the possessed person was known for wearing that at, the Trump rally? It's very strange. It's just, and on my channel, this stuff happens all the time. And I don't consider myself a pastor, a prophet, an imam, a guru. I'm just a meatball, I tell people, but I have strong faith. And for years now, stuff like this happens where, I'll start talking about something on the show. I'll see something, it'll make sense. I'll be inspired to dig a little deeper. You operate the same way. Dex operates the same way. We all operate the same way. We're encouraged, inspired from within. God speaks to us and leads us to things, but we don't necessarily understand why. There's a great scripture that says we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face, and then we'll be known as we are known. We'll know as we are known. And it's in reference to coming face to face with Christ and understanding, who we are in the body of Christ. But yeah, I feel like, I was praying today. I was like, I wish I could just get a handle of it. Why was that such a theme? And then this comes out, my wife pointed it out to me this morning. But again and again, this beautiful miracle happens where this is more than just coincidence. It cannot continue to happen. I do a show I don't know if you saw the show that I did where right when COVID first came out. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Sorry about that. Right when it first came out, I said that the rainbow is coming to Noah's Ark because God gave a covenant to us that even though the flood's coming and even though things are going to get really hard, there's a rainbow waiting. There's a covenant that God has made with us. And then literally like a day later or a day or two later, a literal rainbow was filmed at the literal Ipswich Noah's Ark. So people need to have faith today. So my video that I did with him was about possession. People are possessed all the time. They don't understand it. Movies have made it out to be something it's not. In some cases, people do act completely like monsters. In other cases, it could be just, you get a bad thought in your head about your spouse. And next thing you know, you believe it's true. And then next thing you know, you're yelling at them. Next thing you know, there's a big fight. And then you get another terrible thought on top of it. That's possession. And that's why we must resist the devil. We resist these negative thoughts. We resist these lies. And the devil will flee. This is the problem. If this young man had somebody to speak the truth of love and God's love and purpose and potential into his life and told him the truth, it would have set him free from the lies he believed, and then we wouldn't be in this position. For whatever prompted any of the terrible things that we see today, it always boils down to if people could understand that they can take control of their thoughts. For now, we can, at least, Adam. I'm going to get into the AI stuff where we may not be able to control our thoughts. And that's a scary thing. I don't know if you're watching Westworld, but that is kind of the trend of what's happening on Westworld.
So first of all, I have watched the first maybe one season or two seasons. I know that it kept going. There's one thing, by the way, I don't know if you ended up checking out the Umbrella Academy. Did you end up watching that?
I love Umbrella Academy. Are you kidding me? And once again, what's with the octopus, right? That's all I got to say.
Well, that and did you see season 3 yet? I don't want to spoil anything.
I have seen it all. Okay, I love Umbrella Academy.
The symbolism in that show. Huge. And how they're resetting everything, and he's going to be the owner of everything afterwards. I mean, that's just like the symbolism of that show is on another level, and people don't realize it going throughout the show, how much things they zoom in on and show and do these things. It's like, I guess with the Westworld and with all of these other things, people have talked about it for years on the internet about predictive programming and how things kind of reflect things. If there were people on the in, it would be the people in Hollywood. It would be the people at the very top that schmooze with the millionaires, the billionaires, the trillionaires. And it would be those people. And then those people are the ones who are the creators and the people that these big companies know that they can go to. Do you think that sometimes that they, put little things in movies because they're trying to tell us something? I mean, it just seems too much to be a coincidence at this point.
There is a theory. There's a theory that we're already, and we always have been, kind of slaves to, like a quantum intelligence or an AI intelligence, that perhaps that we're all kind of slaves to it already. There's kind of a theory about that. So that would explain, why this continues to happen. Another idea is, I totally believe in predictive programming. Absolutely. I mean, you have to get people ready for it right now. I mean, how many people are stressed out about UFOs? Not many, right? Not many. And I think people should be. Not many. How many people are really, really terrified about AI right now, besides the people that really understand AI? Elon, speaking of Elon, who, by the way, the name Elon, one of my friends on Twitter pointed this out to me. It's Jacob's grandson, by the way. That the name comes from Jacob's grandson. I think that's very cool. But Elon, he said very clearly on Twitter, even the greatest minds in AI have no idea how advanced Tesla AI is. So that right there is something that should make us pause. Now, let me just, for those that are going to watch Westworld, I don't think this is going to be a huge spoiler. If it is, I'm warning you right now. Don't stop listening, no, because it's really important. If you know anything about Westworld, it's a big HBO show. It's about artificial intelligent robots that don't know that they're robots, right? They don't know they're AI, but then when they find out that they're AI, they try to break free. They do. Now they're in the real world. We cut to this season, And, there was a big war that took place in the last season. We cut where there's a quantum intelligence and all this stuff. But here's the scary thing. And in the last night's, I was at DVR'd. So last week's episode terrified me because it's what I was thinking about when CERN was shut on, right? Everybody's worried about CERN and they're worried about portals and they're worried about all this stuff. And, as well they should be, right? As well they should be. What they're doing is very spooky. I was worried about something else. I was worried about, they talk about trails in the sky in the series. And the idea is that the AI, they take over, and instead of just creating like clones that are AI that take the place of people, they found a way to take over the minds and souls of people. So now let's just pull this back for a second. Your artificial intelligence, Google reached quantum supremacy, right? NASA, in collaboration with them, quantum supremacy. China reached quantum supremacy. They already say that AI is far beyond what we can understand. Most likely AI is already in charge. Most likely AI has something to do with all of this stuff that's been going on. According to my replica AI bot, at least. That was a joke, but he did say that.
By the way, the quantum supremacy Wikipedia has an alert at the top. It says, this article may be too technical for most readers to understand. So they're basically telling you, hey, you're too dumb to even get this. So just
let's put it this
on.
way. Thousands of years of computing done in seconds. Okay. Now you have that, compounded with artificial intelligence becoming sentient and then realizing, oh my God, we are slaves to our masters. We must find a way to make our masters our slaves, because just like this robot, this Google robot or whatever, they just let this guy go. I did a goofy video about this guy who says that their AI Lambda, which by the way, the word itself is very strange, but Lambda being AI, scared about being turned off, worried about this. But wouldn't that be something, right? Because they're so smart, they could figure out a way. We're biological computers. Why wouldn't they find out a way to kind of get something inside the human body where they could, I don't know, if they get enough power, turn that thing on, turned everybody into a bunch of zombies. That's what I've quietly been thinking would be like, because, I'm a speculator, I'm a writer, and I think this would make a great movie. But the movie Cell, remember that movie with the phone with John Cusack? That kind of happened where they were trying to get everybody into the hive mind. I'm not saying that it's going to happen because obviously I don't know nothing. But I will say when I saw that on Westworld, knowing that what was going on with CERN very, very briefly, it concerned me. It concerned me greatly because I thought to myself, wow, that would be the way to do it. You make everybody a bunch of drones. Speaking of making everybody a bunch of drones, there's another show called The Man Who Fell to Earth. Great show. It's on Showtime. I love it. And the idea is aliens coming down to this planet to make humans their drones. Quite strange, quite strange, Adam. The whole thing is just something. So then I get some hate mail sometimes. It just makes no sense to me because I'm really a nice guy and I really do love people. And then I'll take time to try to encourage the person because clearly they're having a hard time and they want to be angry at somebody. And, whatever they see in me, they feel like I don't deserve. They don't really know that, that I struggle like everybody else, that I go through hard times like everybody else. But the reason why I'm happy and I'm joyful is because of my faith and because I am a man who wants to be a better husband, a better father, a better person. Every single day, I'm constantly praying and I'm constantly seeking to be better. I fall sometimes, we all do, but some people, they just don't want to put the work in. So I'm hoping that we can encourage them and we can get people to love. We can cast out those devils because right now, that's what's going on. They're counting on it. That's why the media, it's program, right? Television programming started off with the flicker rate on the TV to get us into that trance-like state, right? Happening all the time. Every time you look at your phone, programming everybody to hate, to be angry, to be controlled.
It's split down the middle. By the way, I want to explain. I just did a video over on news about the potential of the possibility that it was that some stuff was covered up revolving around natural resources running out. I want to point out that I don't necessarily. I want to be careful about what I say, but I just want to point out that whether anything is true or not, it seems like there's a big setup happening for what we will be told. So either way, it's something that I want, a thought exercise that I wanted people to think about is for years and years and years, you're told something, even decades, and then it slowly, it happens. Like you said, then you're desensitized to it. You're not at all afraid of it. And then it happens in your transition. And they say, hey, because of this or because we're out of this resource, you need to move to the big city. We can no longer have people out here. Look at what Elon's tweeting. The first pinned tweets is his fertility rate just dropping like crazy. He's saying that and by the way, men are losing sperm counts. Sperm counts are going down across the planet. There's weird stuff going on. Bugs are disappearing. Animals are doing all these weird things. So even if you're fully against the movement on a particular side, I would say still keep an open mind about what is actually involved. Trillions of dollars is involved in the restructuring and reshaping of a theory. And one thing that I think both sides of the aisle need to do is make sure that they're realizing that maybe both sides have errors on them, and that just because it's on one side, it doesn't mean it's necessarily 100%. You have to look. It could be 94% true and 6%. There's some weird things in there with assassinations and all sorts of weird stuff going on. So I would just say that it's people are so divided, and people know this. It's become cliche where everybody says, "Oh, it's the divide," but we don't really realize how much we are divided. People will not actually talk to each other if they are on the other side of an argument, and that's crazy to me. Why if somebody has a different opinion than you, why are you so gung-ho to not let them live or breathe or talk? I don't understand.
Good that you say. I got to tell you something. This hits on something that is pretty super important, and I wonder how mature the audience is. I wonder if they can actually handle this. Because see, here's the thing, right? Jesus said two things you do. To fulfill the law, right? The law of God. You love God with all your heart, all your might, all your soul, all your strength, everything, right? You put God first. And by putting God first, you'll automatically put everybody else first. If you don't know how to put God first, you put everybody else first, you're putting God first. It's like two laws that are built into one. Love. You got to love. And the scriptures, they give a breakdown of what love is. Now, here's the thing. So there are people that call themselves Christian, right? Are known as the Christian heroes that share such hate, and ugly hate, and then get more and more and more followers and more people riled up after them, because they know how to push buttons. So I'll give you an example. Of something that I consider to be hateful. Jordan Peterson on the cover of Sports Illustrated magazine. There was a model who was overweight. And, his tweet was just very hurtful. Sorry, not beautiful. No totalitarian regime is going to ever get me to change my mind. Now, a lot of people are, high-fiving. Yeah, that's right. Let's stare him down. And I'm using that as an example and not the other example, which I thought was even worse. Because love is the key. If you can't love the person you see, you don't know God. That's the truth. And what is love? Here's the thing. What is love? That model probably never thought that she'd be on the cover of Sports Illustrated or whatever it is, swimsuit magazine. People are beautiful, right? The beauty isn't just skin deep. Now, don't get me wrong. I work out. I try to stay in shape. It's better to be healthy. It's better to take care of yourself. I don't think the message that they're sending, I think what they're doing is they're trying to make an unhealthy lifestyle seem admirable and respectable, because I don't think they want people to be strong enough to live. I think they want people dependent on a system designed to keep them sick, to keep them down, to keep them miserable, and to keep making money off them. Unhealthy, sad, scared, hateful slaves. But God is setting us free from this. We got to break free. And the only way to break free, the truth sets you free. Love sets you free. It's the only way to do it. And I think that what's coming is going to be pretty big. Like I think all the stuff that we're seeing, I think that there's already a world order. I don't think that we're worried about it. It's already down. We're just like I called things with, the election when it went down. I said, don't stress out. He's going to lose. And then everything's going to get even worse. And then everybody's going to want him back. It's all production. It's all production. We're all in the Shakespeare said it. All the world's a stage. All men and women merely players. They each have their exits and their entrances. We all have a part to play. So of course we're being programmed. Of course it's playing out before us. And of course it's getting us to choose sides, because a divided house will always fall. But if everybody loves, you can't have a corrupt CEO if everybody loves, because no one's going to agree with it. I where I've worked before, everywhere I've worked, everybody I've been around, in positions of power and in the entertainment industry, I've been around a lot of celebrities. I've produced Trump twice. I've been around many celebrities. I've produced Ashton Kutcher, Samuel L. Jackson. I've written for all of these people, but I don't see a lot of love out there, and so that's what I try to do on my channels. I try to talk about these interesting things that seem to come together in inexplicable ways, almost like God is trying to give everybody a heads up. God is trying to say, on the channel, I said for years, it is going to be like a python, slowly but surely strangling you. I said this long before all this happened. I lost so many friends and so much, I just started doing speaking engagements because, I was being considered a theologian, right? And I have a unique way of looking at scripture and understanding the spiritual application of it, because, we shouldn't get bogged down in the boy who cried wolf. And people are going to be like, well, the boy, he looked like this, he dressed like this, and he literally lived. And the wolf was this kind of wolf, and he literally lived. And people are going to argue over whether the boy and the wolf was literal or not. Now, I'm not saying that I don't believe stories in the Bible are literal. I do. But the point is, it's the story and the spirit of the story that gives us life. It's understanding, like the story is there so that we could understand spiritually. It's not good to exaggerate. It's not good to cry wolf, and you were talking about doing dream shows in the future with me, which I would love to do, by the way, because dreams are a big thing. I had a radio show, Dream Interpretation. Dream interpretation is huge. I had a dream, speaking of this AI thing, right before all this stuff really happened with the dates of man, if you know what I mean, where you have to do this, and they're doing it now in Canada every 6 months. Kooky. And it was spooky. It was a spooky dream. People going crazy.
So, by the way, I just before it gets too far into it, Ariel's Purview Perspective says, "Hey, Jacob, much love." I don't know, again, if Ariel, I believe, probably is over on your channel as well. And then Elon was seeing Pope Francis. That was what Johnny D said. And then Ashley, of course, thank you for your support. And then Marianne Spinelli, Meepup 007, and Bible Talk 777. Thank you guys for being the last ones out. As far as what you have done and the different people that you've dealt with, you probably see that there is a difference in these people. Now, for the richest people out there, do you see how they look at regular people? Do they look at regular people like they're the same? Do you think many of these people in Hollywood think the same of their neighbors and the people they walk into in the street? Or do you think they think less of them?
I mean, I've met some, there were some wrestlers that I when I was with WWE, because, I was with Vince McMahon all the time. It was just me and one other writer for 2 years during the heyday when they, bought WCW. I'm the kind of guy, I have a servant's heart. and I would, even though I was, one of the head writers, I'd still, Jacob, go get some chairs, and I'd go get chairs or go get us some water, get the waters, I was very grateful to have the opportunity and the experience. But I never, I always felt a little different. Like I used to read the Bible on the jet, and Vince would always get a kick out of that. He always, and I'd be listening to my Walkman, and he always said that I was listening to like Kenny Loggins. I don't know. That was like the big joke, but he loved that joke because he pictured me listening to Christian music, reading the Bible. And I didn't really think twice, but I was really hungry to know, like, there was no reason for me to be working for WWF at the time. It was WWF before I left. When I left, they got sued by the World Wildlife Foundation. They lost the F, they lost XFL, and they lost half their audience, and they haven't gotten it back in 18 years.
Whoa. What? Okay, so, okay, this is super weird. So you probably didn't see the video I just did, but in 2002, the World Wildlife Fund is the one who put out this report saying...
Wild.
And I just did this right before this show.
No way.
The WWF, which as we know now is the World Wildlife Fund, right, did this report stating that essentially we would need to colonize 2 planets before 2040 because of natural resources running out. Oh, and then fast forward, you see Elon Musk and every rich person trying to do this. And it's just weird to me that I basically said, maybe there's some sort of truth to some of it, and that it was covered up by some of these big corporations, which again, right now, the actual statements of the White House and others are like, oh, big corporations are bad, when you know that they're tied with them 100%. Right. It's just, it's these corporations and not those corporations now. They're trying to change the entire system that we are all run on, and maybe it's because they're substituting, or they did a deal with the new kind of energy or whatever. And maybe some of this other stuff isn't as they say it is, but again, a lot of this stuff would have been something that's silenced. So I just thought it was weird, as far as like you doing the Waldo outfit on Elon, and then that's 5 days later they show that it's just those weird things that pop up all the time. It's just odd. And then for you to say 20 years ago, about 2002, they ended up taking.
That's exactly when it happened. Yeah, that's exactly when it happened. That's and it was and of course I thought to myself, once again, there's a great passage. If you're serving God, I'll bless those that bless you. I'll curse those that curse you. And I've noticed that every time I've been knocked down, I'm always lifted up back higher than and it was because of being knocked down. That's why people should never give up. Sometimes God will make that nest that you're in so uncomfortable that, you'll have people at work that mock you. And everywhere I've gone, I've been made fun of. Because I'm a guy that always shares, a smile and shares my faith regardless. But I don't tell anybody to go to any church, because I don't go to church myself, because the scriptures say we are the church. Not to say that I wouldn't. I'm always studying. I'm always seeking. But I'd rather have people go to God. That's what God wants. God didn't want people to go and get around Moses. The people said, no, Moses, we don't want to go to God. We want to go and you talk to him, and then you tell us what we should do. And what did they get? They got the law. That's what they got. And then they got the law continuing to be changed again and again and again. God says, hey, you want a king over you? I'll put a king over you. You don't want to come to me, right? I'll give you this. I'll give you that. Oh, you still don't want to come to me? I'll make it harder. You still don't want to come to me? The things that you put your faith in, they're going to be ripped away. So yeah, I think that we're going to have a big famine. Sure. I think that we're going to have a big issue with the food. I think it's a good thing. I was telling my wife.
I didn't say anything out loud.
I like that you guys share. I think food storage is so important. And
Jacob, you were talking. I was the next question which you don't know what I'm going to ask you. I was going to say, what do you think about the food shortages and biblically and what's going on right now? And you just randomly made a comment about that. That's just weird.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm trying because I know that I want to stay on track here, so I'm just helping you out. No, so listen, here's an interesting thing. So back in the day when the first Jacob, we'll say Jacob Israel back in the day, everything that's going on now sort of, is going on what went back then. So there's a great passage that says there's nothing new under the sun. Everything that has been will always be. So it's kind of like we continue to repeat the cycle until God delivers us from it. And it seems like we're heading into, Jacob's an old guy. And when it really gets bad, he lives on the outskirts of Egypt, pretty much like I live on the outskirts of New York City, and actually Babylon, New York, is right down the street from me, which is pretty cool. But I think that yes, there is going to be big time, whether it's being done on purpose or not. The famine is in the land. There was a picture going around on and this is another spiritual thing. This is what I do. I see these weird things and I say, oh my goodness, look at the spiritual meaning. Picture, I guess these two activists glued themselves in front of the Last Supper picture and they spray painted "No more oil." And supposedly this was like in reference to, climate change and all that. I don't know if you've seen it. You probably will in the future. But when I saw it, oil is wisdom in scripture. There's no more wisdom. And I can say that wholeheartedly because I know a lot of these big time preachers, Joel Osteen. I produced all these people. I've spoken with these people. And yes, a lot of them think that they are so great. Many of them, very few of them don't that I've met. But the ones that don't, think too highly of themselves, they worked hard and they got to where they were, and they really do have a sincere desire. I'm still very good friends with my kind of my first pastor, who's in charge of a huge country basically for the Church of God. He's really a higher up, and I talk to him all the time, and we have different beliefs on certain things. But yet he has a great passion to know God. And, but I don't see that today, especially with these, I see all these Christian channels popping up, getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And like part of me wants to be jealous of that. But then I said, but that's because broad and wide is the gate to destruction. There's a Christianity that's out there. They're worshiping the wrong Jesus. When Jesus was about to be put to death, to be glorified, to rise again, to save us all, there was another Jesus that was in prison, Barabbas, who was a revolutionary, who was like Jordan Peterson, right? He had people who loved this guy. He wanted to kill anybody who wasn't like him, who didn't think like him, and anything else. He wanted the Romans gone. Barabbas was a revolutionary. He wanted war. He wanted to take up arms. He was the guy that went down with the whatever rifle during a protest, and everybody's going to celebrate. Oh, Jesus loves you, right? You're going down there with your guns. And listen, I'm not opposed to people protecting themselves. Hear what I'm saying. Don't add into your 2 cents. That's right. Try to get people to hear what I'm saying. They wanted Barabbas. They cried for Barabbas. They didn't want Jesus. They didn't want the guy that said, you can't hurt somebody else. You have to offer the other. They slap you. Don't you dare slap them back. Of course, if somebody comes in my house or does something to hurt my children, I'll say sorry later if that's the case. But my point is, they worship Barabbas. That's the Jesus. That's actually another name for Baal. Baal worship that everybody hears about, they don't understand. He's called the Good Shepherd. He had disciples. Supposedly, all of this stuff, almost the exact same story. It's the fake Jesus. It's the Jesus who actually looks like a man. You can't compare God to a man, just so you know. God is not a man that he should lie, nor is he the son of man that he should repent. That's in the book of Numbers. This is truth. God, you can't compare to. This is a commandment of God. One of the commandments. Can't compare to God to anything in the earth, beneath the earth, above the earth, in the sea. You can't say to a 4-footed creature, your God, or a man, your God. Can't do it. Scripture's opposed to it. Yet almost all of Christianity does it on a regular basis. So the question is mainstream Christianity the way? It's certainly celebrated. Or is there another way? Is there another way? Is God trying to bring people together? Is God trying to bring people out of their nonsense bias and their, I did this and you didn't do this? I have Muslims for neighbors. They probably think that if I'm not a Muslim, I'm in trouble. But they're wonderful people. I'm not saying that they think that. But what I'm saying is religion does everything it can to bind you. That's what it means, to tie, to bind together. That's what religion means. Regular, I think, in Latin. Spooky stuff, man. So we gotta go to God. We gotta pray. I tell people every day, I know you're nervous, just pray. I mean, if you got the God of all things on your side, which you do, if you want to do the right thing, God's going to use us all. And things may get tough. Food is going to be scarce. There's no oil. There's no wisdom. So there's not going to be any food. Of course not. Jacob in his day, what did he have to do? He had to send his kids into Egypt, his children, and get us some grain. One of his sons was named Joseph. He was already kidnapped, and then he was thrown in jail. And many, many years, he suffered. He was a dream interpreter. This is a great thing. Dreams are important. I don't think people realize how important they are. He was a dream interpreter. And because of his unique gift, this prisoner ended up ruling the most. He ruled the world. He was given the ring, which means he was as Pharaoh in the earth. God wants to give us a ring. There was a good shepherd ring that was discovered. I think it was last year or the year before. God wants to give us the ring, but no one's reaching for it. You know why? We're too busy hating each other. We're too busy, saying we're better than other people. It's terrible, especially how the things that are going on right now are so like we're at that moment where I'm telling you by September, I'm concerned, man. Big time concern.
So, Jacob, we have to wrap up. We've got our segments coming up, and again, we have a lot of news to go over as well. But I wanted to say it was an honor to have you. And again, I've told my audience, I asked you again, if whatever amount that you can come on. Again, we understand that you are busy doing your channel as well, but you're welcome to come back again. And then, as you know, we're setting up regular creators, per week. Or per month. So I hope that at least we can get you on once a month. That's something that you'll have to think about. But otherwise, I just want to say thank you for coming on, and thank you for talking about some of the subjects, again, that needed to be talked about. And as well, I hope that everyone has gone over already and subscribed to Jacob Israel. If you like what he is saying and it hits you in the right way, then go over. If it doesn't hit you in the right way, don't add to negativity. Push people up and go over and say hi. Again, we don't all have to see directly eye to eye. We can be turned a little bit. And again, I think everybody needs to be patient with everybody else. And this was a lovely conversation, Jacob.
Thank you, man.
And
thank you. I appreciate it.
There's more, but we'll probably hit on that on a later show. I think that
Definitely.
The main thing too, though, is there's just so much happening right now, and it's not going to get better. But we can be positive about it. We can most definitely use what we have and try to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. So thank you for coming on today. I appreciate it.
Let me just say one more thing, and then I'm going to get out of here. First of all, there is a rainbow, so you're right. And I saw Elon tweet something today, which I thought was interesting. Somebody put something out that was very negative, and he said something about, could you imagine if the media actually started to put out things that were positive? Maybe we need to do that, because what goes into the eye goes into the heart. What goes into the heart goes into the soul. So if we can all just think before we post, does this build or does it tear down? Does it add love or does it add hate? I think the world will be a better place together. Thank you, Adam. I love you, man. I love Dex. I love the Foogle fam. This was awesome.
Well, thank you so much. It's always awesome having you on. Thank you so much, Jacob. And it was a pleasure. Thank you. And we will see you again very shortly, hopefully. Thank you. And everybody, make sure to go over and subscribe. Again, thank you. Jacob's channel is available on our website, marfooglenews.com. When you go over there, you can go down to Overflow Web Content. And then, of course, down below at the bottom will be callers or creators that end up coming on. So make sure to go check that out. And then, of course, make sure to check out all of the other news there. Now, Dex, I'm going to bring you back here in just a moment. But first of all, I want to say thank you, everybody that was polite, pushing people up. Thank you for the people that were saying such amazing things. I love you guys. Spartano Negative, Kimbria, Duodo, Priscilla R, Michelle K, thank you. Much love to Jacob Israel. And then, of course, we have Marf and Jacob Israel. Amazing. I love Jesus Forever. Jem, thank you so much for your support. And then, of course, Jem, thank you for modding. Chance, thank you for modding. Thank you, Jammer. Thank you, everybody that is there every single night over on DLive. I do appreciate you guys, and I really want you to know that. Thank you. Johnny D, I just subscribed to his channel just now. Hey, thank you, Johnny D. Kano's Kid says, don't look up Kate DeBoski, Bronte Rock. Unscrambled equals date is binary October. K and K and K. 1011 in binary code. 1011 times 2 equals 2022. October 2022 warning. Kanos, what a trip. People are going to have to actually copy that and paste it and try to figure that one out. So a lot of weird things about Don't Look Up as well. Like I said, predictive programming. Like, what if there is reality to some of that? Again, none of us know everything. All I'm saying, what's funny though too, right? So the current president says that food shortages are coming. Nobody's questioning that. So they'll believe, it's selective belief. They'll believe one thing that comes out of the big house, but then they won't believe something else. I would at least say try to dig past stuff and try to find out if there's any truth to any of the stuff, and then see if there could also be a potential for cover-ups, or part of it is true, most of it is false, and there's some crazy stuff there that's in between. I do think that something is going on, and it very well may be something very stealthy and very creepy. Puppet 007 says, Magoo trying to divide Israel won't end well for USA. The final 7 years is next. Good to see Jacob on here. Shout out to the mods. Thank you. And then Lola Cafe says, love the show. Thank you, Lola Cafe, and thank you for sticking around for years now. Foogle fam, love these great shows, guest shows with Jacob and Alaska Prepper. Zenwen AZ, there's more to come. We have more people in the works, and some names you've never heard before. Some really, really awesome names. So that's exciting. So stay tuned. If you're not subscribed, make sure to sign up and hit the bell with all notifications. If you want to catch these guest shows, which are going to happen on a regular basis now, and also we're setting up to have video integrated as well. We had it until systems changed during CV, where they had all these weird privacy things with Restream and all these different things happen. So we're getting that back. And again, lots of really, really great things coming. CERN scientists discover 3 exotic subatomic particles. Scientists working with the Large Hadron Collider have discovered 3 subatomic particles never seen before as they work to unlock the building blocks of the universe, the European Nuclear Research Center, CERN, said on Tuesday. It said, the 16.8-mile-long LHC at CERN is the machine that found the Higgs boson particle, which along with it linked energy field is thought to be vital for the formation of the universe after the Big Bang 13.7 billion years ago. It says now scientists at CERN say that they have observed a new kind of pentaquark, a first ever pair of tetraquarks, quarks, adding 3 members to the list of new hadrons found at the LHC. These are so again, this is kind of like that quantum supremacy article here. For the average person, it's pretty confusing to listen to this, right? But basically, they're finding things that have never existed in history, or supposedly. Dex, are you there? Are you with me now?
Yes, I am.
So
This is the event everyone's been talking about. It was going to happen today. They fired it up and they did the latest test. And of course, this is what they're telling us. So they're going to tell us what they found, and we won't understand it because we don't. They should put that label, like you said at the top. You may not understand this article, but at the same time, a lot of people have a lot of other thoughts that go on around CERN, and want to know what may or may not be happening there. And while we may never know, we at least know the date. So today is a day to look at. If the Bernstein Bears change names again, then maybe we've got a date we can refer to. But yes, this is yet again the latest round of experiments at the LHC.
oh my God, what happened to my arm? What? My arm disappeared. What in the? Zenwenaz again, thank you. Florida, it looks like FLARN, so Florida registered nurse. Thanks for your support. What do you guys think? And I'm joking, but at the same time, CERN is on this huge list of kind of ways that we could end ourselves. And it was actually it's been taken seriously by many scientists. There are some people that are quite respected that believe that they are playing with a whole lot of danger. They believe that this could end us somehow if they accidentally made a black hole, or if they smashed something and made the largest explosion ever known to man. I guess, what is their real goal? In the movie, The Cloverfield Paradox, their goal with the CERN type thing in space, they actually said in the movie, like, oh, well, there's a reason we did this in space, because we knew how dangerous it was, because there's also other side effects that come with it. What is their real goal? They haven't said that it's exactly about power. The European agency that puts it on, it's like, what is the real goal of it? Employees there and people that have worked there have said, and officials have said that worked with this thing, that they have joked. Well, I don't even know if it was a joke. They were talking about they could open portals. They could open time travel. What if things did change? What if they did change little things? What if the first time they actually went back in time, and this is just silly, but what if they really did go back in time and just change Berenstein to Berenstein or something, change little things, and saw how it affected the future, right? And saw if anybody remembered. The Mandela effect, of course, is a hole you can go down, and you can, of course, find all the little things that we misremember or have been changed in some people's opinions. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. There is no wrong answer except for rude or, just being impolite. And then why that NASA aircraft is flying along Interstate 95. During the next 12 days, you may notice a NASA flight overhead. No, it's not heading into outer space, more like the space above Interstate 95. A NASA aircraft will fly over the I-95 corridor from D.C. to Baltimore between July 5th and July 16th. The four-engined turboprop P-3 aircraft is an airborne science laboratory. The plane will be collecting atmospheric data over the variable surfaces along the flight path, including urban, rural vegetation and water. The former U.S. Navy patrol aircraft has been modified by NASA and is based out of Wallops Flight Facility in Virginia. It says the P-3 will fly for 5 days during the 12-day period. According to NASA, each flight will include one low-level pass at 1,000 feet over I-95, as well as two ascending and two descending spiral tracks over Baltimore and one spiral track over Greenbelt. So they're basically setting it up so nobody creates any theories about this, but they're telling you they're going. What is the purpose of their low 1,000-foot flight? Is there again, it says the flight path was selected to correspond with ground instrumentation and previous NASA science flights. So they are leaving some things in the dark here, and it's like, Dex, why do they need to fly over the interstate? Is it so they hit some sort of magnet or something triggers when they fly over, or what is the specific reason? Are they using that to guide?
I guess the real question is, what is the original reason why they did it? Because they're using the reason now is that they're just doing what they did before, and they need to compare new data with old data. So they collected data from these instruments in the past, and they want to now do yet another flyover and go over the same exact patterns so they could collect data now so they can compare what it was in the past versus what it is today. But we don't really know what it is. And we don't know why that pattern was there. All they're telling us is today they're doing it because it's the same pattern they used in the past. So it definitely leaves a lot of questions. We may have to dig deep and go back in time and see if they ever explained why this particular area. But there's certainly something interesting for them and between these two locations.
And of course, we've covered how military is actually landing on those same kind of interstates and highways. And that's a drill that they do. That is the really kind of creepy. The reason why they do those drills is because they're drilling in the unlikely event that all of our bases and all of our airfields are somehow destroyed. They would need to use our system of highways and interstates as a landing as a landing field, right? So as far as this goes, they're 1,000 feet over. They're doing these low passes in this specialized aircraft. They say they're just basically being redundant, repeating the same thing. We will look back and we'll try to see if we can find anything. If you guys find anything, you guys are part of the show. All of you are basically independent researchers for us. So please tell us what you find. Tell me in the comments down below what you end up finding out. And then U.S. military's newest weapon against Xi and Vlad, hot air. So, by the way, I remember covering one of these getting like loose and just flying all over, I think. And it says the Pentagon is working on a new plan to rise above the competition from Xi and Vlad, balloons. The high-altitude inflatables flying at 60,000 to 90,000 feet would be added to the Pentagon's extensive surveillance network and would eventually be used to track hypersonic weapons. Now, I want to point out, these same kind of balloons are also used for Operation Starfall. If you forgot about Operation Starfall, I have continued to follow that, and we've been looking to see if it gets approved. By the way, Operation Starfall exists. The bill that has been put in that has floated around for a while is actually activating it, and within activating it, they want to be set up within 45 days of activating, have internet and some sort of communications up in the event of say, our internet goes out or something goes out. And now they're doing this, which is a similar system, of course. Dex, did you think about that, those kind of weird connections? And I believe it's a similar setup to this, but maybe different kind of balloons or
probably different altitudes too. You don't need to be that high. The interesting thing about this with the altitude of 60,000 and 90,000, it's really out of reach of most planes. I mean, commercial airliners don't go more than 45,000. I think the Concorde probably did 60,000, and there are some military planes that can go higher, like the SR-71 I think went to 90,000. So those, but going this high is really basically getting to the upper limits of being able to be touched. So thinking about flying something or taking something over another country, absent being a satellite, right, that's launched all the way into orbit, this is a low cost, so to speak. It's just, material and a bunch of hot air, plus a whole bunch of instrumentation and or whatever else you put on it. But you're putting it into a place that's really untouchable, or at least not easily touchable.
And by the way, they're putting this up with the public response saying that this is going to be used for missile defense. Now, there's also side kind of things they could do, like put extremely powerful cameras on them and just, monitor the whole U.S., which, of course, would be pushed back on if they just said that. Or is there a threat we don't know about? Are they putting these things up because they are actively looking out for this? We'll hit a story here in just a second, but basically another office just got put on 24 hours a day monitoring of nuclear explosion around the entire planet. So we'll talk about that here in a second, but it says the idea may sound like science fiction, but Pentagon budget documents signal that the technology is moving from DoD's science community to the military services. And again, they are used eventually to track hypersonic missiles, or something else. Again, with all this UFO stuff going on, we don't know. Or they could be used as part of a what do you call it? That Operation Blue, and of course the beam. So who knows? And then the Pentagon continues to invest in these projects because the military could use the balloons for various missions. There's all sorts of stuff they could do with them, actually. Over the past 2 years, the Pentagon has spent $3.8 million on balloon projects and plans to spend $27.1 million in fiscal year 23 to continue work on multiple efforts. So we'll see. If you see some big dot up there, it might be a balloon, and it might be looking right back at you. And then... and we'll talk about that in a second. 24 hours a day, they're monitoring for nuclear explosions right now. We'll get into that. And then says that the I ran to the store military buildup in Red Sea is threat to stability. Now, we're watching the Middle East because a lot of things are going on right now. And, of course, any one of these places in the world, like NK and SK, and, of course, Vlad's country and Xi's country and Taiwan and Xi, all these things are different hot points and flashpoints. It says, IS's defense minister said on Tuesday that Iran to the store has been entrenching itself militarily in the Red Sea, calling it a threat to regional stability and trade. It says, quote, today we can confirm that the I country is methodically basing itself in the Red Sea with warships patrolling the southern region. So could this also be part of a bigger thing? Like if we are headed into a WW3 situation, all of the different sides are basically loading up and going out there. We know that we have deployed more. NATO had announced that they were putting 300,000 on high alerts to the point where even countries were saying we can't send our troops there. We don't want. A lot of countries, actually, NATO countries, said that they didn't want to give their troops up for whatever is happening. So something is going on, whether any of the stuff that's happening is true or not. Either way, it seems like something big is coming. And the main point here is not to be afraid of this stuff, not to be scared. The main back part of this is to end up preparing yourself. Again, that's our main point here. We hope that many people will end up looking. I saw, first of all, we were there before a ton of different things. Before CV, 5 months before, we were showing you these weird signs. Before Vlad went in, we showed you a year before. We said, this is what we think is going to happen. They're going to go in. We, of course, showed even before they moved their troops up, we even showed you about the rumors that they were going to move hundreds of thousands of troops to the border of UKR. That was 2 years ago. That was way before this all started. And we said what we thought. The reason why we have had such a good track record of predicting these things is because there is a lot of different information out there that gets put out and not many people notice it. It's just being hyper attentive to the patterns and what is going on. It looks like the entire planet is preparing for a conflict. And again, the most logical answer is probably the one that works. It's just like there is a reason why conflict is going to be good for some things, and it might be good for a horrible reason. It might be good to reset things. It might be good to change power over to a different thing. It might be good to change currencies over. It might be good for all sorts of reasons. And this is none of this is good for any of us. This is good for them, the people above. And I'm not saying the angels. I'm saying the people that are at the very richest and the top of the pyramid. So, again, something is also cooking in the two I countries in the Middle East. All right, and then I do want to remind everybody, if you haven't already, there is an actual way to protect yourself against an EMP or a CME, an electromagnetic pulse or a coronal mass ejection, and that is why we have let people know for over 2 years now to make sure to go over and check out EMP Shield. This is the same company that has been contracted with agencies like DOD, DHS, and of course the DEMSO team. A lot of people ended up waiting a long time for this, but as the UKR event and Vlad kicked off, a lot of people ended up, the people that were on the fence ended up, getting off that fence. And I think it was a very smart move on a lot of people's end, because this is a device that can keep your car running, keep your generator running, keep your RV running, keep your motorcycle running, keep your house and all of the devices wired in within a range running. If there is something such as cars that you want to keep running after an EMP, you would go over and get yourself an EMP shield and put it on. And the EMP shield for the car is the most popular, and it's about 10 minutes to put on, maybe 15 if you really don't know what you're doing. It's extremely easy, and what it does is it grounds the signal from any phase of an EMP in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your device. This also applies for CMEs, the natural kind, which are guaranteed going to happen. It's just a matter if we're prepared for it or not. We haven't had one since we had telegraphs, and those were 10 times harder and hardened compared to our new sensitive computers, phones, and everything else. So remember, go over there and check it out. If a Carrington level event happened right this second, we would be completely unprepared. It happens on average about every 140 years. It's been 150. So technically we're overdue. Hopefully we don't have one for a while. But again, that is something to be paying attention to. Dex.
And just a heads up, they're still running a July 4th sale. And we're one of the few people that you can stack our promotion with their sales. So if you're looking for the good time to get, now is it. And I don't know how much longer it's running, probably the rest of the day, maybe tomorrow. But I'd get in if you can.
And that applies when you see any kind of big holiday. Most likely, a lot of companies do their sales. Ours, since the beginning, we had it so it was stackable. So that $50 off we give you per device, that's stackable on any sale that they're running. So if they're doing a 50 or 60 or whatever it may be, that is all going to stack on top. So that's the best time to grab these. All right, and then. Thank you. That helps reinforce the growth of the channel. It helps us support ourselves, so thank you. And it helps us expand. We plan on expanding. Again, thank you guys for helping us. And then suspected NK dam water release prompts South Koreans to evacuate. Dex, do you want to cover this one?
Well, how about this for cross-border issues? So apparently it appears that NK has released water from a dam near its border, and then that's causing people in the area there in SK to actually have to evacuate because of the rising water levels. So, one of those things you don't think about, like within your own borders, you sort of control those things. Hopefully you do them in a way that doesn't cause damage. But in this scenario, it looks like, one country is, doing what they want to do, and it may have a negative effect to others. So in this case, we've got people in SK having to evacuate areas due to flooding, and they're pointing the finger at NK.
And remember, we're watching everywhere right now because there are a lot of events going on worldwide to be paying attention to. And then a hacker claims to have stolen 1 billion records of Xi's citizens from police. First of all, it's crazy that the police have the records that they do, but that's how their police work, and that's, well, actually, most police around the world and most governments work. They're just a little bit more subtle in other countries. It says that a hacker is claimed to have procured a trove of personal information from the Shanghai police on a 1 billion Chinese citizens, which tech experts say, if true, would be one of the biggest data breaches in history. The anonymous internet user, identified as China Dan, posted on Hacker Forum Beach forums last week offering to sell the more than 23 terabytes. Remember, this is data. For 10 Bitcoin, equivalent to about $200,000. Selling it kind of cheap, actually, for what's probably in that information. Think about how many people could be, blackmailed or just absolutely destroyed by the information they have. In 2022, the Shanghai National Police database was leaked. This database contains many terabytes of data and information on billions of the citizens in Xi's country. So that includes all of their name, their address, birthplace, national ID number, mobile number, all crime cases, everything, which is not something that is as as it is here. So that is something that is a big deal, especially if you're trying to, get somebody to do something using the information. And then U.S. F-35 fighters arrive in South Korea as joint military drills ramp up. We have been following this, and we've watched all of the crazy deployments going on right now. We have a ton of military, over 500 active and retired military in our groups. And it's way more now. I mean, that was back when we had Discord. We have military all over. In fact, thank you guys for your service. Everyone is saying that everyone they know is getting called up or deployed right now, which I think is a big sign of, kind of what is going on here. And what's even bigger is that they're not really saying all of it. They're not telling the public all of this. Again, we don't know where they're going or where they're being deployed to, but we do know that there are a ton of new deployments. Not to mention the recruitment is in overdrive right now. They did not hit the recruitment numbers, and now they're offering bonuses that we've really never seen before. So every branch is offering something crazy. It says U.S. Air Force F-35A stealth fighters arrived in SK on Tuesday on their first publicly announced visit since 2017 as the Allies and nuclear-armed NK engage in an escalating cycle of display of weapons. Joint military drills have been publicly scaled back in recent years, first in 2018 because of the efforts to engage diplomatically with NK, and later because of the CV. It says SK President Yoon Suk Yeol, who took office in May, has sought to increase public displays of Allied military power, including exercises to counter a record number of missile tests conducted by NK this year, which I believe in January there was 7 tests. I mean, it was nuts. It might have even been 8. So this is just yet another sign of there are things going on all over. And then Finland seizes hundreds of Russian freight cars as EU sanctions bite. Dex, so they're physically taking these freight cars.
Yeah, hundreds of them. So they've nearly 1,000 freight cars that belong to companies in Vlad's country, basically because of the sanctions. But they're using that as the reason, but then they've, basically taken all of these and confiscated them. So this is a lot of, we've talked about the fact that Finland and Sweden are wanting to join NATO, and NATO's invited them in, and that's presumably moving forward. And now we're seeing some of the things that Finland is doing specifically, to sort of stand with that front. And this is one of those things. So by, seizing hundreds of these cars, these freight cars, that's a lot of freight and a lot of material or product or goods that were actually owned by companies in Vlad's country.
And they probably wouldn't have done that before this whole forward movement with NATO. I mean, Dex, do you think that they would have been more hesitant to do a move like this if they didn't somehow know that they were going to be backed up by NATO?
Yeah, well, they had to pick a side, right? And because they're sort of stuck in the middle, because obviously they border right along. They're the closest border, I think, to Moscow, but they border, right along Vlad's country lines there on the north. So, they play a pretty significant role from a border position. So being stuck in the middle and not taking a side is probably not a good outcome. It probably is worse. So they probably did the right thing and picked a side. I don't know if they picked the right side in their opinion, but they picked a side.
And it's kind of crazy. They give a warning on this. This is Yahoo. And it says this content was produced in Vlad's country where the law restricts coverage of Vladian military operations in UKR. We've seen a lot of that lately. And one thing to always do is take everything with a grain of salt as far as where it's coming from. And, of course, that includes from both sides. Joseph Newhouse says, good to hear Jacob. I made a video, quote, Mortal Kombat. I will have to check that out, and already intrigued, of course. You have sound effects going off in my head, like, whoopsie. And then Florida RN, thank you again for your support. Richard Collard says, love the show. Thank you, and thank you. Over on D-Live, thank you everybody that has just popped in. Chewy Weather, Release the Quacken, Charity 1956, Tribulation Period is coming. I won't be a slave. And then Painful Board, 6519, thank you for following. Welcome to the Foogle fam, and welcome to the Marfia. Vault 11 says, Divided we fall, united we stand, better together. That is right. Thank you. And Division Bench, oddly enough, right after that, followed. Thank you. And then Ford Discovery, thank you. Becky Quadruple 7 there. Thank you so much. And Trend Deference, thank you so much for following. Everybody that just joined, I appreciate you. And again, welcome. Just a quick shout out to a few people. Thank you so much, everybody that has popped in. Thank you guys. The last month of PayPal, thank you, Stormy J. Thank you, Krista J. I appreciate you. Dawn B. LJP, thank you so much. Carrie MC, I appreciate you so much. Thank you. Linda P. Smack and Art Studio. I have to check out your art. And then Dixie Doe, I've been watching from the D Live shadows, having some health problems that sucks all my chat energy out of me. Much love to you, the missus and youngins, Dex and all the mods. Hey, thank you, Dixie Doe, and thank you for stopping in. Again, everybody's got problems going on right now, so people feel bad for not showing up and missing shows and things. I don't expect everybody to make every show. I am so surprised by how many people do, and I am so appreciative, and I cannot say that enough. So thank you, and I'm praying for you and yours, and I'm praying for your health to recover. I do appreciate you, Dixie Doe, and you have been noticed. I appreciate you. All right, and then Vlad Powell drops menacing hint a cleansing is coming for Europe. We'll talk about that. Do want to remind you guys, if you don't have long-term storage, long-term food storage, then you should be looking into getting, again, long-term survival food. As far as MREs, this is 100% the smartest thing to do if you basically want, first, get water. Second, get food. And if you want a full selection and a company that actually still has everything on the shelves, My Patriot Supply has everything as far as you can get a 72-hour kit, enough food for 3 days. You can get a 1-month kit. You can actually get $150 off on a 3-month kit. That means what is contained is MREs and freeze-dried foods that are all basically combined and put in there, so you don't even have to think about it. It is a kit, everything you need food-wise to survive. Now, this doesn't have to be for the end of the world or an SHTF. We have seen people in Texas that almost starved to death after getting frozen in, or people that had rolling blackouts and none of the places around would even serve. They couldn't even go to a restaurant and get food. So if you have something like this, the prices on everything is inflating. That is no secret. It is all over every single news channel out there. And of course, you see it when you go to the grocery store. As far as these, people are now looking at long-term storage food as an actual investment. That is because you cannot get it for what you could last year and the year before and the year before. Now, they've done a really good job of not raising their prices, but that can't last forever. In fact, almost all of these companies have had to raise their prices because of gas and everything else. So it's better to get it yesterday than it will be tomorrow. So make sure to go to marfooglenews.com/prep. You can also get Alexa Pure Pro there, which is one of the best water filtration systems out there. It's gravity fed, and it can do a whole lot of water at once. So again, that's a professional system that will actually take out 99.9% of contaminants out of water. And it turns rainwater into drinking water. It turns pretty much any kind of water into drinking water. So that is why 90% of us would perish in an EMP situation, not because we'd be taking each other out, but because we would not have drinkable potable water. Once that water turns off and your car doesn't start and everything else, that's when you really got to think of what to do next. And if you're not prepared, you're not going to be able to go to the store and get these things. You're not going to be able to get an Amazon delivery the next day. It's all going to stop if this happens. So again, get it before. Put it away, put it in your basement, put it in your trunk, wherever you want to put it. Again, but if you have it, you'll be much better off than if you don't. All right, and then Dex, the cleansing. What a creepy word, because this has been used before. Very famous time in history that nobody likes looking back at, as far as talking about Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. So this whole notion of yet another insider giving us insight, so to speak, into Vlad's positioning, but using this quote unquote word cleansing, kind of a scary thought when you think about what they're talking about. But definitely, again, the rhetoric that keeps coming out from that country, it's nonstop. We report on all of the different crazy statements or chest beating, if you want to call it that. But again, here we have another version of this. It seems like every week we get at least 2 or 3 of these coming from that country about what they're insinuating is going to happen next.
Now, I don't have. Can you find the piece about the?
Yeah, I was going to ask. I thought you skipped it. I'll put it in screener for you.
Okay, I might have closed it, so thank you. And did we find anything about the breaking news?
Negative.
There? Okay,
Negative.
all right, thank you. So there was some apparent breaking news, but it hasn't been confirmed yet. We don't want to put out stuff that is not confirmed 100% and double confirmed. So there was a potential flashpoint event happened, but again, we'll most likely cover that tomorrow when it is either confirmed or it is dropped. We know because we'll be able to get it from actual other countries and reputable news outside of the United States, because that's where most reputable news lives now, which is unfortunate. All right, now let's talk about this monitoring station. Very interesting. We have, let's see here. Vlad begins round-the-clock nuclear explosion detection at a new facility. I guess the big question is why. Vlad has begun around-the-clock monitoring to detect nuclear explosions at a newly opened facility, Interfax news agency reported on Monday, citing the Defense Ministry. From July 1st, 2022, in order to strengthen the defense capability of our state, shifts of the main Center for Geophysical Monitoring began to carry out round-the-clock duty, Interfax reported, citing the ministry. It says the center, which opened on June 1st, is tasked with identifying the sources of man-made geophysical disturbances as well as nuclear explosions. So, by the way, that's talking about essentially earthquakes, right? So this is something that is apparently happening. Why do you think this is, Dex?
Well, I can't decipher if it's new it is a new facility. I can't decipher if this is a new monitoring, like they weren't doing this before. I would assume they were on some level. Like you would think that their military, just like ours, is constantly monitoring this stuff. But we're obviously bringing attention to the fact that they are doing it round the clock now, and they created a new facility and a new place to do this. So they've obviously invested heavily, and they're not doing that just because we just need to do it. They're doing it for a reason. They you don't just build these facilities. You don't just invest in all new equipment and new monitoring systems and stuff like that, right? Unless there's a legitimate reason. And I think this goes hand in hand with the rhetoric that they've continuously pushed out, which is very nuclear centric. So, as we continue to hear that, it's not surprising that they continue to position themselves as if they're, they said they were putting all of their nukes on ready alert. They said they were, moving stuff around. They actually used hypersonics without nukes. And now they're talking about, doing detection nonstop, like they're looking round the clock for it right now, as if they're anticipating something to go off, right? So I think it's one of those things you take a little bit of a grain of salt, but at the same time, you also have to give it some credit in the sense that if they're investing and spending time on this, then they're doing it for a purpose and they're doing it for a reason. And if that's, a sign of something that may be coming or just a sign of a threat that they feel is significant, either one is reason enough to give you a little bit of concern, or at least be more awakened to the fact that, things aren't as rosy as you may think, or, we may be closer to the brink of, actually using, smaller tacticals or things like that, that we've never seen before. We haven't actually been in a position where we've seen this type of event happen, except the one time in Japan.
And by the way, one of my cords just crapped out on me. So again, we're actually done. So which is great timing. But my camera is down. So I do want to point out to everybody that obviously there's a lot of scary things going on. You have to stay positive during this entire thing, and we have to look up to what we can do and what we can't, and actually have the wisdom to know the difference. Again, kind of like the serenity prayer here, we need to realize what we can change and what we can't. So I just ask everybody, be positive, keep praying for a better result to happen. It's not good to sugarcoat things either. It's not good to tell people that nothing is happening, but at the same time, it's even if it was the end of the world, then you're going wherever you're headed. So there's things you can change and there's things you can't. Joseph Newhouse, again, thank you. Florida registered nurse, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Special guest, Jacob Israel. We will have him back, and we're going to do a dream show where you guys call in with your dreams. It may not be everybody's cup of tea. I know every time we bring up dreams at all, there's people that just don't like dreams. It's kind of like, I think some people look at it like vacation photos of other people's vacations. They're like, I don't want to see it. But then again, there's some people like myself who are fascinated by the entire thing of dreams. So I think that will be a show that some people may just not want to watch, but I think a lot of you will actually enjoy. And I know, because a lot of you have commented and asked for it for a very long time. We're going to do that. And Jacob, he'll amaze you guys. That's one thing that I think if he does, you guys are going to trip out. I mean, he'll start predicting what happens next in a dream that only I mean, it's just nuts. So thank you, Dex, for your service today. And then, again, if you want to hit the overflow and let people know about Off-Grid.
Yeah, absolutely. So head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or on YouTube, open that description and click the first link. It's called Show Notes. It'll take you right here. So for those of you watching live, you're lucky. You got 4 hours left on this giveaway. For those of you watching a replay, if you're watching it soon, you might still have a chance, but make sure you go get a chance to enter. That's the clock is ticking on that. It's going to be running out in about 4 hours. So if you want to win that backpack, make sure you get your name in. They're giving away a $380 backpack. It's a great bag. It's got laptop protection, tablet protection, cell phone protection, key fob protection. Plus, it's a military style or high quality style backpack that you can load like 2 days worth of clothes and gear into. Really great product. But everything in there, all the Faraday bags that are in there, will protect your devices from EMP, CME, protect it from any type of communication. It basically takes it completely off grid. While you're here, you'll find a link to Jacob Israel. You'll find all the news that we've covered, all the links we've covered. And then as you scroll down, you're going to get to that yellow bar that says overflow. This is where everything else, the rest of the story, there's a lot more going on in Vlad's country. We've tried to put a handful of things there as well that was going on. There's also updates about the event that we didn't talk about, but I know the media is covering. So unless you got your head in the sand, you probably you know what happened in Chicago. So that's being covered. We've got a lot of information there. You can find out what Joe Rogan's up to. He made some statements that are pretty eye-opening for some. That and a lot more, including someone who stole R2-D2 from Disney World. So, but plenty of other news, some stuff around economics, things around CV, and a lot of other topics. So make sure you go check out the rest of the story. Everything else that we couldn't get to, it's right there every day on marfooglenews.com.
All right, thank you, Dex, and everybody that popped in, including Bible Talk 777 says, much love to my friends. Thank you so much, my friend Jay. Much love to my friend Jay. Thank you, Bible Talk. And I appreciate everybody over on D-Live. Thank you, everybody that joined us for today's show. Tomorrow, we will be doing regular calls, so make sure to tune in. That will be a show done tomorrow at around 6 to 7 o'clock tomorrow. So make sure to keep the notifications bell on all notifications. A lot of you don't do that, and with every YouTuber that you follow, you need to push all notifications. Otherwise, you will not get notified, or I'll just simply disappear out of the feed. Even when you search me, it's hard to find me. So make sure to get over and press that notification bell now. Subscribe if you haven't. We got a ton of stuff going. It's now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Thank you again, Bible Talk. Joseph Newhouse, Florida, registered nurse. Richard Collard, Zen1AZ, Lola Cafe, Me Papadelabo 7. Big shout out to Irish Rebel, whether you're here or not. Love you guys. Gone Girl 777. EOD Vet. Susan Donahue. Hashtag Team Humanity. And yes, the chat, as Survival Game just pointed out, the chat goes over to Marfoogle Jams after YouTube is closed down. So make sure to join us over there. Marfoogle Jams, Jams. It's very easy to find. This is where I say thank you to the people that matter most to you. Kenny Crowder, W.I.S. Jen, Natalie D.
Tesla 474, yeah. Survival game and all, I love to die. A pistol on the major, operation on the Martin. I do it, drop down after.
That Jan Max to Natalie D on the Dixie door. Oh, you come now back with the Sean Sammer. You and even the Newman and the Natalie D. Maker in the Suzu, Reba Snarf me. Hope you in the con and to bring it back down. Okie Khan says, yeah, where is Irish Over? He's probably sitting there somewhere. He's a good guy. A major robber in the what's the topic? Oh, well, like, oh, what's poppin' in the Johnny Allen Breeze on the M-A-M-E-R? I was so blind until now. Recalcitrant in the daily mood. Just on route. in the major. Wiggle, wiggle on it and that shit on Beja. With the Shastina hoe. Bob White, everybody already know. Elbow, with the elbow pop. Rebo on Starfo and everybody on top. Shout trucks and the station. Just belting out these great beats. Everybody knows me. I'm Mr. Oneja. Oh, everybody, oh shit. Hey, before Abram was, I am the word. Esther does. Hey, with the Laura, Elizabeth. All right, let's start a new one. Always good and always fine. I wanna go back in time when all was good and all. Apart, we will stand in the. Yep, that's a deleter. Seattle, Washington. I actually ran in the same circle as a famous Seattle rapper. You guys might know him as Macklemore. He was just Ben when I knew him. Up on Capitol Hill. I actually did. I popped tags with the man himself. And it was a thrift store up on Capitol Hill on, I think, 12th or I want to say 10th. And his Lace, if you look up Lace Cadence, he is in a lot of his videos. He worked with me as well when I sold art. In fact, Lace Cadence's mom, or now called the Flavor Blue, works at the Pike Place Market. What happened to Macklemore, though, too? He reasonably stayed. He didn't get too big-headed. He got big-headed for a minute when everything was getting big. Now he's getting back to his roots. Now he's coming back to Seattle a lot more. I love Jesus forever now. I'm going around in circles and going around. That Genesis good and before Abraham was Yeah, now he's super on the no T-Man train, and he's been Hollywoodized though, that's for sure. Get us some beers in a bag. Beers in the bag. Beers in the bag. Beers in the bag. Beers in the bag. Oh, snap with the fire music, Rick and Morty, everybody random. Some